Hello, welcome along to the Fun Kids Science Weekly, the only podcast that promises to uncover all the real secrets lurking out there in the universe. My name is Dan, thank you so much for listening. This week, our Dangerous Dan will actually change everything you ever thought you knew about one sea beast. It's a good one, I promise, stick around for that. Also, we'll hear how a part of Mars is going back home, and I've got some of your questions to answer. Today they're on DNA, taste, and warm-blooded creatures. It's all on the way on the Science Weekly. First, let's catch up with one of our favourite geniuses on the show. This is Professor Hallux.
Professor Hallux's Digital Dental Depository, with support from Philips Sonicare.
To honour great Uncle Halitosis, dentist extraordinaire, on the occasion of his 100th birthday, Professor Hallux is creating a pop-up digital dental depository, an oral health help desk. He's going to see how many questions all about teeth he can answer against the clock.
I think the turbine's nearly up to speed. Or our toothbrushes will be. Are you ready, Nanobots?
I'm ready. Let's go. First question. What different types of toothbrushes are there?
Good question. Well, as we have seen, hundreds of years ago, people used small twigs to clean their teeth. Although I doubt many people still use a twig today. Toothbrushes as we know them today started to be used in China over 1,000 years ago, although using hair from animals as bristles. The first mass-produced toothbrushes were seen in the early 19th century, with bone handles and using pig bristles in cheaper toothbrushes and badger hair in more expensive ones. As well as plastic handles, synthetic fibres started to replace animal hair in the 1930s. A more recent development has been electric toothbrushes. At first they were a luxury item, but today there's a wide variety to choose from. Some for adults, some for kids, and some with even cool apps and fun stuff to help you remember to brush your teeth for 2 minutes.
A strong start there, Professor. Right, next question. Why use an electric toothbrush? Isn't a simple manual one just as effective?
Well, the most important thing of all is to make sure you do brush your teeth, whatever type you use. A sonic electric toothbrush makes 31,000 brush strokes a minute. To match that, you'd have to brush your teeth for a month using a manual toothbrush.
And get a sore arm. Right, next question. When choosing a new toothbrush, what do you need to consider?
Well, you need to think about whether your toothbrush is the right size and shape for your mouth. You need a brush that allows you to reach all the way to your back teeth and a handle that is comfortable to hold. You also can choose whether the bristles on your brush are soft or harder. Most people choose soft bristles as harder ones can hurt your gums. Electric toothbrushes have significantly smaller brush heads than a manual toothbrush. This helps you to reach those awkward areas at the back of your mouth more easily. Whichever type of toothbrush you use, always read the instructions to make sure that you're using it properly. As electric toothbrushes do more of the work for you than a manual one, you need to be more careful that you're brushing correctly to prevent damaging your gums and wearing away the tooth enamel.
We're racing towards the finish. Time for one last question. How long should you brush your teeth?
For exactly the same amount of time as you'd brush your teeth any other way. 2 minutes twice a day. Did you know some clever electric toothbrushes will turn themselves off after 2 minutes and even beep to remind you to brush all areas?
That's correct, and time's up. Brilliant, Professor. Very respectable score there, and lots of data for our digital dental depository.
Professor Hallux's Digital Dental Depository, with support from Philips Sonicare. Find out more at funkidslive.com/Hallux.
Right, let's get around to your questions then. This is seriously my favourite part of the show, where you send me something sciencey that you're curious about, you leave it as a review on Apple Podcasts, I find it, I do all the work, you hopefully get a little bit smarter. This one is from Quinn. Hello, Quinn. Quinn asks, why are some animals warm-blooded and others cold-blooded? Now, there's quite a long answer to this one. Scientists don't actually really use those terms anymore, warm and cold-blooded. They call them endotherms and ectotherms. An endotherm is what we used to call warm-blooded. They're able to change their body temperature using chemical activity in their cells. The cells lose some body heat, so the endotherms have developed systems like sweating and having fur and feathers to either keep the heat or release it. Exotherms, they can't really do that. Instead, they have to think about where they are and what they're doing, slowing down and keeping in warm places to save heat, and sitting in the sun in the morning to heat up. It raises their body temperature and it allows the work of the cells to speed up. The reason this happens is mostly due to evolution. Muscles work better if they're warm. So one advantage that endotherms have is they can suddenly spring into action at a moment's notice. The bad thing about being warm-blooded, though, is that you have to keep your cells in check all the time, either whether you're warm or they're cold, all day. And that means at night. Exotherms can switch off their cells, really, when they don't need them. But endotherms have to constantly keep working to make sure the temperature is right, which is why sometimes you get food cravings late at night if you've not eaten enough because you're still using loads of energy. Thank you for that, Quinn. I hope that slightly covered it. This is Amani with a brilliant question. Do all living things taste food the same as us humans? The short answer is no. The long answer, it depends what they need. Humans have around 10,000 taste buds. Carnivores who only eat meat have much less, around 470 taste buds. Because we eat meat and fruit and veg and grains, we need all of those different things to taste. Carnivores, they only eat meat, so they need less. Herbivores that eat veg and plants, they have about 25,000 taste buds. It helps them quickly figure out if their food is good or bad, because they're eating a lot of grass and mud all the time, so they need to quickly figure out if the plant is safe to eat or it's poisonous. They also need more salt than other animals, so their taste buds help out with that. Now, fish have taste buds all over the place, not just in their mouths. They have them all over their skin to help them detect taste in the ocean so they can figure out where the food is. And have a listen to this. Catfish, who swim and hunt in murky water where you can't see a lot, have 175,000 taste buds to let them know where the food is through the gloom. And finally today, this is from Lily, Daniel and Dorabella. You've had this question for a while. I'm sorry I've not got round to it. They ask, what is DNA made from? DNA is made of something called nucleotides. A nucleotide is a chemical building block. There are 4 of them: adenine, thymine, cytosine and guanine. Now, nucleotides are made of sugars, phosphates and a nitrogen base. Those 4 bases fit together in different combinations, and they take a shape that scientists call a double helix. It looks like a ladder that you would twist it round, and the different rungs of each of the ladder are made of 2 of these nucleotides, and the different combinations give each cell information about who you are, what you act like, what you look like. They really contain the code to everything about you. A little bit about DNA there. It's something I really want to cover in full on a later episode, Lily, Daniel and Dorabella. Thank you so much for the question. If you've got something sciencey that you want answered on the show, you need to leave it for me as a review over on Apple Podcasts. It's the Fun Kids Science Weekly. Now, a couple who are both over 90 years old have been on a 2-month challenge to raise loads of cash for a brilliant wildlife charity called Born Free. And they were joined for some of the way, by Hector Bateman-Harden. He's 10 years old. He's an actor. He's a wildlife campaigner. And he joins us on the show. Hey, Hector.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on, mate. Now, what got you first interested in wildlife campaigning?
When I was about 5 years old, I heard about Cecil the lion being killed by trophy hunters. And then a couple of years later, Xander, Cecil's son, got killed by a trophy hunter too. I'd heard about trophy hunting a little bit before, but I never realised how big it was and how sad it was. Then I found about poaching and decided I didn't want any more beautiful animals to die so pointlessly, just for sport and boasting. There is a real risk that some of these animals die out completely during my lifetime.
Now, Hector, when you find out about these stunning animals that are killed just for trophies, how did you find out more? Where did you look up? things so you could find out more about trophy hunting?
Well, I looked on the Born Free website and the campaign to ban trophy hunting, of course. And I supported a few animals, adopted some. And I looked at some of their incredible education packs. And that helped me find out about what some of the terrible things people did to wild animals.
And how did you get involved with the challenge for Born Free?
I first saw it mentioned on Twitter and then checked out the GoFundMe page through Born Free. As I was in contact with them anyway, we thought it would be great to go along and say thank you. So the amazing Virginia McKenna, founder of Born Free, and Will Travers, who's president of Born Free, organised for us all to go to Hampstead Heath and meet up with them for the last stretch of the walk.
And how did it go when you were there?
Well, I think it went very well. They completed a total of 180 kilometres, and considering they're in their 90s, wow! Virginia McKenna made a lovely speech to them, and we talked a bit about wildlife markets and wanting to close them down. Some local press and people walked the second part of the walk, so that was really nice to talk to them. Hopefully it will have helped Born Free. So far they have raised nearly £30,000.
What are the couple hoping to achieve from their fundraising, Hector?
They were raising money for Born Free to help close down the wildlife markets. They're so horrible for animals. Live animals are in cages next to dead animals, and that's so easy for diseases to spread. And when people eat those animals, the virus gets into humans. That's where scientists think COVID-19 started.
It's so interesting to find out more about the links there. That was, a lot of trophy hunting happens over in Africa and in places like that, Hector. You've already talked about it with the link with COVID-19. How do we see the effects of trophy hunting and damaging wildlife here in the UK?
The British government is looking at banning the imports of wildlife trophies into the UK. 2,500 trophies from wild animals have been brought into the UK in the last decade, and the amount has actually gone up since Cecil the Lion was killed. People are even allowed to bring back elephant trophies, including tusks, as sport prizes, and parts of endangered species. So I hope that the new law gets agreed to stop this. When I was younger, I used to see hedgehogs a lot, but now it's quite unusual. They've been affected by hedges disappearing in the countryside, pesticides killing their food in our gardens, and being killed on the road. I know some charities, like Harper Asprey, are reminding people to check their bonfires and lawns before gardening so they don't hurt them by accident. Badger culling makes me really sad too. I know that the government wants to control TB, and that's what they allowed the culling for, but by the end of 2018, 67,000 badgers were killed. I know Born Free and other organisations are trying to come up with a plan for the government to manage TB without hurting the badgers.
What you say about badger culling there is interesting. It's as you mentioned, it's to help stop the spread of tuberculosis, and there are a lot of arguments about it. I think we're going to cover that in a future show, actually, Hector. Now, lastly, what more can we do to help? These two amazing 90-year-olds, Angela and Martin, and yourself, they've walked a long way to raise loads of cash, over £30,000. But what can we do to help?
Please do go online and have a look at brilliant charities like Born Free and Campaign to Ban Trophy Hunting. Support things like sponsoring or getting their t-shirts to wear. I love doing that. The Wildlife Walk Born Free did, and maybe do things like put food out for hedgehogs to try to stop wildlife all over the world being harmed. Thank you.
Amazing, Hector. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for helping them raise loads of money, and thank you for getting involved with Born Free. You can find out more about please. You can find out more about the foundation at bornfree.org.uk. Yeah. Hector, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For this week's Dangerous Dan, right, let's start with a fact that I think will change everything that you ever thought you knew about one pretty terrifying animal. You see, killer whales aren't whales at all, they're dolphins. They are the largest member of the dolphin families. They're known as orcas. They are apex predators, which means they're the top of the food chain. No other animal preys on them. They're amazing predators too, hunting on seals and fish, dolphin, whales as well, and they're smart. With the second heaviest brain of all marine mammals, they teach skills to their children, they even mock and make fun of other creatures, and they move in pods with other whales. They hunt really well in packs. Because of that, they're called the wolves of the sea. They use special killer whale calls to let others know where prey might be so they can hunt effectively. They're fantastic at doing it. They are absolutely massive, and they're a killer by name. They're not really a killer of humans, but they're a brilliant hunter of sea creatures. And remember, killer whales are actually dolphins. Let's check in with one of our favourite inventors and engineers on this show now. This is part of his brand new series, learning about people who have changed the world from Britain, which is where we're recording this from. His name is Sir Sidney McSprocket.
Sir Sidney McSprocket's Great British Minds.
Oh, hello, Sir Sidney McSprocket here. Now, modesty aside, I consider myself a rather good inventor, but Britain has produced some truly great minds. Inventors, designers and engineers, all creating amazing new things and solving all sorts of problems. Oh, it's enough to make you quite proud. Oh, now, where was I? Oh yes, I'd like to introduce you to a few of these great British minds, if I may. And I would like to start with some of the inventors behind something I know you wouldn't like to do without. Computers and the World Wide Web. In fact, I myself invented a computer, the stupendous Stipendiary Compendium. You try saying that with a tea cake in your mouth, crumbs everywhere. You might think computers are a relatively recent invention, but let me take you back to England 1822 and a fine gentleman called Charles Babbage. Babbage is recognised for coming up with the very first computational machine, a way of creating mathematical tables without having to use a pen and paper. Well, this was a great solution because it meant mistakes were fewer. If we all got the same answer when we worked things out for ourselves by hand, no one would ever have failed a maths test. He was helped by another mathematician, a lady called Ada Lovelace, or to give her her full name, Augusta Ada King, Countess of Lovelace, a very grand name for a very great mind. She wrote the first algorithm for Babbage's machine, and so she's said to be the very first computer programmer. Now, of course, today, computers are in everything from TVs to toasters, and computing really accelerated in popularity with the dawn of the internet. Can you imagine a world without the internet? Oh, it's a terrifying thought, I'll agree. Oh, especially for you youngsters with your consoles and mobile phones. So, who do we have to thank? Well, the internet would be nothing without the World Wide Web. The trillions of web pages we can all access with a click of a button and easily click between wherever our imaginations take us. So, let's go back to the 1980s to meet our next great British mind, the father of the World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee. Berners-Lee worked at a busy research lab in Switzerland around 40 years ago. There were so many people working there with so many projects, and computers were constantly having to update their information one by one. Oh, this took a lot of time. Berners-Lee, however, came up with a solution. His breakthrough was to develop something called hypertext, which meant documents on different computers could communicate. He went on to join his hypertext system with Internet Protocol. This was a way for people to move seamlessly between links in documents held in different computers. He even created the first internet browser. And one of the things that makes Tim Berners-Lee truly great is that he declined to patent his invention or to require royalties, believing the World Wide Web should be freely available. Oh, wasn't that nice? And here's an interesting thing. Babbage and Berners-Lee had something in common. They were interested in solving problems. If you're interested in solving problems, maybe you could be a great mind too. Oh dear, it looks like my Alsatian vibration station's malfunctioned. I'll have to go for now. But do come back soon, won't you? Toodaloo for now.
Sir Sidney McSprocket's Great British Minds. With support from the Royal Commission 1851. Find out more at funkidslive.com/McSprocket.
Let's get on with this week's Science in the News. A small chunk of Mars will be heading home when the US Space Agency launches its latest rover mission on Thursday. NASA's Perseverance robot will carry with it a meteorite that originally came from the Red Planet, but until now has been lodged in the collection of the Natural History Museum in London. It'll be taken up there to help the robot rover understand the rocks around it better and figure out how to use its technology more effectively. Also, a pet cat has tested positive in the UK for coronavirus. Experts say it's the first confirmed case of infection in an animal in the country, but it doesn't mean the disease is being spread to people by their pets. It's thought that the cat caught COVID-19 from its owner, who had tested positive for the virus, but both have now recovered, and it really is a very rare case. And speaking of rare things, sharks are now rarely seen at almost 1 in 5 of the world's coral reefs. A major study has found this out. It's not good news at all. The crashing shark numbers is mainly caused by overfishing. It could have serious consequences for corals struggling to survive in a changing climate. This is all to do with what we heard in our ecology special last week. Sharks and the ecosystem around coral really do have an impact on the reef itself. Sharks are top predators. They play a key role in marine ecosystems, and losing them really is devastating news. And that is it for this week's Fun Kids Science Weekly. If you've got a science question that you want answered on the show, you need to leave it for me as a review over on Apple Podcasts. While you're there, make sure you subscribe to the show. You can hear all of our brilliant other podcasts that we do on Fun Kids. You've heard a few today. We've got loads more out there as well. You can catch them wherever you get your shows from. They're on the Fun Kids app and over on our Fun Kids website. Next week, we've got another ecology special, learning about your place in the world and how you work together with other animals and plants to get on, all help the ecosystem and live in the same place. I can't wait to do that next week. I will see you then. Remember, Fun Kids is a children's radio station from the UK. You can hear us all around the country on your DAB digital radio, on the free Fun Kids app, and over at funkidslive.com.